Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of West Covina's Council meeting on Tuesday, February 19th, 2013. First, I'd like to begin our meeting with an invocation led by Pastor Kelly Dupay from Faith Community Church, and he looks so marvelous. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody rise, which will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Rob Sotelo.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for what you're doing in the city of West Covina. And we thank you, God, for our city council. We thank you for our police department, fire department, and everything that you're doing to bless the residents and all of the things that are going on in the city. Tonight, Father, we invite your presence here into this room to just bring wisdom and guidance to our council as they debate and to decide things. Thank you, God, that you're going to bring your perfect will to be done here. We give you the praise and glory for this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Will you please join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would like to call forward Andrew McIntyre, who will take the oath of office, and call forward Judith Wiggins North. It's nice to see you this evening. Please come forward, and we're so excited to have you, and thank you so much for coming tonight.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Andrew McIntyre. I should have caught it.
Got it.
We'll try again.
I, Andrew McIntyre,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter
upon which I'm about to enter
for the city of West Covina.
for the city of West Covina. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Now I'd like to ask Councilmember McIntyre to please take the seat at the dais. All right. And then I get to ask Madam City Clerk for a roll call.
Mayor Sanderson,
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Here.
Councilmember Herford, Councilmember Sotelo, Councilmember Sykes.
Here.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for coming tonight to support Andy. I think that's fantastic. We're very excited to work with such a young, fresh, exciting person. He's so intelligent. Earlier when we were talking, I was saying a sentence and I couldn't think of the word, and then he'd finish it, and I'd go, hey, that's awesome. I like that already. And he says he does it for his dad all the time, so I just have to make... With that, I'd like to ask if we have anything to report out of closed session, Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Record should reflect the City Council did hold a special meeting pursuant to the items listed on the meeting, and this is a report out from closed session. There was only one item, that being conference on public employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, the position of special assignment to City Manager. There was discussion and direction provided by the Council. However, there was no final action on that item. The record should also reflect that all members were present with the exception of Mayor Pro Tem Herford. And that concludes my report out from closed session.
Thank you so much. And at this time, Mr. City Manager, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, there's one change to the agenda tonight. On agenda number item 4, the appointment of city commissioners. Since the posting of this agenda report, the city has received a letter of resignation from Ms. Lucinda Nance, Cookie Nance, who served on the city's Human Resource Commission for many years. In addition, the Community Service Commissioner John Glenn has requested to not be reappointed to the commission. As a result, staff is recommending that the City Council adopt the staff's recommendation with removal of the Commissioners Glenn and Nance from the appropriate appointment resolutions and/or provide alternative direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And then at this time, we have our presentation portion of the meeting, and I'd like to call forward our Police Chief, Frank Wills.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, and Councilman McIntyre. Congratulations. This is a special night for us as well. I'd like to call Pastor Kelly DePay down. Last year hit the department like a hammer blow. Our department pastor of 35 years, Gordon Coulter, passed away. He's the longest serving active member of our organization, and the position of a pastor is very special to us, a department chaplain. He marries us, he buries us, he baptizes our children. He's there for us when we have a crisis of faith or to provide support. In fact, just last week, the tragedy up in Big Bear and Irvine hit a lot closer to home in West Covina than we cared to share with the media, and Chaplain DePay was there for us at the hospital and has already done a tremendous service to us. But when we decided that we needed a new department chaplain, we really focused very quickly on Faith Community Church. Those of you, sometimes people come up here and they say, what makes West Covina special? And we talk about a business-friendly city, and we have big league dreams and 2 regional shopping centers, and it's a great recreational community for youth sports. But we also have one of the most dynamic churches in Southern California. A lot of times the secular world doesn't realize that we have something special right here in West Covina. We have a very dynamic senior pastor, Jim Reeve, prodigious author and TV personality, and Faith Community builds a lot of bridges with West Covina. We use that site for training in our parking lot. Last year we used it for active shooter training. We pretended that Faith Community was a school and a church and a business, and our SWAT team was right there in the sanctuary doing training, which I've never seen from a church before. And again, Faith Community builds a lot of bridges, and we also zeroed in on Pastor DePay as our chaplain. Sometimes it's hard to get to police officers. You need a pastor with a lot of testosterone, and he has that. He's youthful, he's energetic, he's a close friend to many of our police officers, and we knew he would be perfect. And we knew he was busy. He's a head pastor in charge of counseling there, and fortunately he said yes. He decided to serve, and it's my honor tonight to be able to swear him in officially for his position as department chaplain. So I'll give you this with your left hand. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name.
I, Kelly DePay,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
foreign or domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the State of California,
and the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservations
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of police chaplain,
discharge the duties of police chaplain,
the position I'm about to enter
the position I'm about to enter
for the city of West Covina.
for the city of West Covina.
Congratulations. I'm going to take another 60 seconds, Mayor, if I could invite Pastor Kelly's wife, Carrie, down, and you might want to pin the badge on your husband. Good luck with that. Watch out. Turn seconds.
Thank you, Chief, so much, and welcome, Pastor Kelly. I'm really so excited. One of the best in West Covina. You've been a fantastic pastor in the community, and I'm so excited that you have come forward to do this for us. We're very, very grateful, so thank you so much. With that, we'll continue on to our meeting. At this time is our time for oral communications. That's where any agendized items or non-agendized items, things you'd like to bring up to the council that we may be able to help you with. You can fill out a yellow speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. And we do have a 5-minute speaking limit, and anything that's not on our agenda, we can't generally address, but we can briefly handle it and get back to you or set it for a future agenda. And I'm going to give everybody our city manager's phone number to call the council if you need to talk to any of us. It's 626-939-8401. So if you do need to reach us on anything that you'd like to talk to us about, we would always be more than glad to help you out. So with that, our first speaker tonight looks like Kenneth McDonald. McDowell. Yes, you know what? I think I need to get my glasses on. Come forward, please.
Just at the podium.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for coming.
Is it okay? Okay. Good evening. My name is Koma McDowell, and I'm glad to be here today. And congratulations, Andy. I met you a little while back, so congratulations on this. Great accomplishment. But I'm here to invite the City Council to participate in our Paying It Forward Cancer Walk. I represent Koma Saray Inflammatory Breast Cancer Foundation, and we're an organization that focuses on Covina and West Covina in trying to service cancer patients in treatment to make sure that they continue with their treatment process. We don't focus on research, we focus on the families. And so we are having a cancer walk, and I just wanted to invite each of you to this event, and we'll love city support. It will be at Big League Dreams, which is a great location for the city, and we are working with West Covina High School students to really be the footwork for this event, because this is very near and dear to the students' hearts, because they have a lot of students who are impacted by cancer. So I just wanted to introduce this to you, and I do have some meeting with a couple of city officials coming up, but I just wanted to come in person and invite you and let you know about our event.
Councilmember Sykes.
The location is Big League Dreams.
Correct. The date is April 13th, and it's at 7 a.m.
All right. Thank you so much for
you.
coming tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank
and if
you.
there's any information, I don't know if you want to give the city clerk, we could maybe get that on our bulletin board or something along those lines. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Mr. Lloyd Johnson.
But since I didn't get to finish my what I was saying at the last meeting, I'm going to finish it this time. Council members, what I'm going to say tonight is facts, not something I just made up. I hope all the residents of West Covina will listen and remember this come election time in November. Fact number 1, minutes of the November 20th, 2007 meeting, item D4D, Mayor Sanderson, in 2007, you along with Councilmember Herford and the rest of the council voted to give yourselves a supplemental retirement plan in addition to your retirement plan you already had. At that time was $550 a month. Now it's $791 a month. Fact number 2, Mayor Sanderson, you told me personally that you would never vote for a utility tax to help keep our fire and police departments if that's what it took. You said you would rather see the county come in and take over our fire and police, which showed where your loyalty stood with our police and fire departments. And if a tax was passed, you would move out of the city of West Covina. You can't deny saying those things to me because someone else was there when you said them. And this, in his word, will not be questioned. Myself, I would always stand behind our fire and police 100% and would do whatever it took to keep them. Fact number 3, you say you voted no on selling the Civic Center Hill. That's because you already knew there were 3 votes for selling it. Again, I would never sell this piece of property for any reason. Fact number 4, then you didn't show up at the council meeting when our city was sold out to Athens by council members Herford and Sotelo. You couldn't even take a stand on that. Again, I would never sell the residents of West Covina out. We need council members who will put our city ahead of their own interests. You have proven that you're not that person. You have lost the trust, and in November, we will show you. Fact number 5, you didn't think showing up for any events or openings in 2012 was very important to you as a council member. Fact number 6, you proved not showing up for the Memorial Day or for the Veterans Day isn't high on the list of important events. If they were, you would have been there, which is a complete disrespect for our veterans and their family. Maybe you might show up this year because you're the mayor. That will be the only reason you will show up, if you do show up at all. I would never disrespect our veterans in any way and do everything I could to support them. We need council members who can be trusted and care more about our city than their own personal benefits that they will be getting when they retire. Enjoy this year. It may be your last on the council. And to Councilmember McIntyre, congratulations. And good luck. You're going to need it. What I hope is that you will be an independent voter like Councilmember Sykes and not feel you owe the other 3 council members for nominating you, and go along with whatever Councilmember Herford says, like Councilmember Sanderson and Sotelo does. We need leaders, not followers. Remember, you already have 3 strikes against you. They're called Herford, Sanderson, and Sotelo. Our city must always come first, not the developers. And please, don't be a racist. Race should have nothing to do with disagreeing with another council members. A comment like what was made at the last council meeting by Councilmember Herford should never be tolerated by anyone, no matter what your race is. Good luck to you, Councilmember McIntyre. I really mean it. And last, I still got a minute. If anybody would like to find out about all the benefits that our city council has and why some of them want to be on this council so long, here it is. I'll tell you how you can get it. You go to the West Covina website. Go to the site map at the top, scroll all the way down past the agendas to where it says Memorandum and Understanding for Employees Contracts. Go to City Council and Executive Management Benefits. Click on that. Go down to the bottom where it says City Council's Benefits. Click on that. What a surprise you will get. That's why we need term limits. And that's why we need a change. Let's all get angry and do something about it in November. Not just talk about it. Let's do something. Thank you.
I'd like to say welcome to you, too. Two things. First, I'd like to commend the Community Services Department and Lindell Morgan for the Lit Fest of the last weekend. It was 3 days of really interesting offering, something for everyone, really. And I also want to thank the city for partnering with the Lit Fest organization and the county library, West Covina Library, and the West Covina Friends of the Library. The 3 stages, main stages, worked out very well. The main stage was here, the second main stage was in the courtyard, and the third one was at the library, and then there was a children's out in the garden area too, which worked out very well. Both the presenters, the ones that we talked to, and also the San Gabriel Valley Lit Fest organization were very pleased with it, and plans are already in the offing for next year. And the second thing is the library. The Zumba class turned out to be a huge success. The room was absolutely full. The last one on Thursday will be on the 28th, and then in March it's changed. It's going to be weekly, so every Wednesday at 6 there will be a Zumba class at the library community room. In April the National Library Week will be scheduled, so there's going to be all kinds of things for you to look forward to. Thank you very much.
Very very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Phil Kaufman.
Mayor, members of the council, staff, before I get to my primary topic, I'd just like to thank the council and the city manager for proceeding with the developing a plan for the gun buyback program that was discussed at the last meeting by my friend Don Overland. Hopefully that can progress. We can have that in effect in the near future. One of the main problems facing citizens of the United States today is that of voter suppression. When people think of voter suppression, they think first of the type of suppression that has been passed in state after state by governors such as Rick Scott and John Kasich, attempts to remove large segments of the public from the voting ranks, to remove their right to actually exercise their right to vote. But what we've seen here in West Covina now twice in the past year is a small governmental agency, a group of 4 individuals who have taken the right to vote away from the citizens of the community. I was here a year ago in the council chambers when the last city council vacancy came about and when the council got together to fill that vacancy. And I was not happy with the proceedings I saw a year ago, but I did see a discussion that lasted about an hour and a half where dozens of candidates were put up for nomination, where there was a valid discussion of the merits of each of those candidates, where there were numerous votes, and after, like I said, about an hour and a half discussion, a selection was made. What we saw here at the last meeting was a single candidate's name being put before the panel, and without mention of a single other candidate, a vote was immediately taken, and that individual was elected to the council, totally bypassing the right of the people to have any say-so, and even giving the people information about other candidates who had expressed interest in that position. This gets us to a second problem we face in this country today, and that is the amount of money in politics today, the amount of money being spent on campaigns, whether for city council, whether for presidential elections, whether for initiatives before the voters of an entire state, and whether for city council and mayoral elections in large cities such as Los Angeles. We don't know for sure what money has been spent concerning the vacancy that was just filled. There have been statements made in this room. There have been statements made in the paper. It'd be interesting to see the 460 forms when they're submitted for this period next July. But what we do see is at least the inference that campaign money, that money being paid to various politicians does have an effect, and even that inference is something that the public does not deserve. In the city of Los Angeles right now, there's an election about to happen in a couple of weeks where the city will elect a new mayor and various city council members. There's a lot of money being put into that election, most of it from concerned citizens and groups in the Los Angeles area. But what we're seeing now for the first time on a local basis is massive amounts of money coming from out of state supporting a single candidate. Kevin James is running for mayor of Los Angeles. He's now in 4th place behind 3 longtime politicians in the city of Los Angeles. A super PAC formed on his behalf and financed almost exclusively by a man by the name of Harold Simmons has made massive contributions to his campaign. Harold Simmons is the largest owner and operator of toxic waste dumps in the country. A few years ago when he decided to build a nuclear waste dump, the first nuclear waste dump built in the United States in 3 decades, he began making large contributions to Texas Governor Rick Perry, and lo and behold, he got his license to build a massive toxic waste dump on top of an aquifer in northwest Texas. We don't know what he wants, what his point is in trying to elect a mayor of Los Angeles, but there's an inference of impropriety there, just as there was an inference of impropriety here at the last meeting. About a year ago, a friend of mine and I had the opportunity to discuss campaign financing with former Mayor Toohey, and we asked him if the city of West Covina would be interested in doing what a lot of other communities around the country have done, and that is passing a resolution calling for the constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. His response was basically to laugh it off, to say he wasn't interested, and to tell us that his opinion was that unions should be restricted in what type of campaign contributions they could make. I see my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Bruce Lineback.
Yeah, I recently heard a rumor, I don't know if it was true, that Chief Wales applied for another position, and he didn't get it. He applied for the U.S. football defensive coordinator. So, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I had experience recently where I live. I had my house flooded. One of my main water pipes busted, and it completely inundated my house. I caught it after about half an hour. Called about a man I know does contractor, works for me on my apartments. He came over, he couldn't get it turned off, so he made a suggestion: call the West Covina Fire Department. So that's what I did. I called the West Covina Fire Department. They came up and shut my water off. Still, there was $100,000 worth of damage, but if they wouldn't shut it off, been a lot more damage. Also, we do have an agenda today. This is an agenda item. We want this proposal for the cable TV. You're going to upgrade the meetings. We've got a real comprehensive report, excellent report by Mr. Chris Freeland. And I think it's a great idea for the community. I know my own self, I think it kind of casts me in a real negative light, kind of distorts my image, because when I come up here, you can't do it now, it always captures me from the back. In the back, all you see is bald and white. And people will think, who is that very old man speaking? I'm not old, I'm 70 years young. And I ski 20 days a year. So I really feel that, I'm really happy that we're having that. And pretty soon we'll see all the images from the front, see who the speakers are, see what they look like. Yeah, I urge the council to vote for this. I think it's a win-win proposition, and it will improve the transparency of our meetings, make people feel more involved, get a better feel for what's happening. Also, just recently, I've had a real big problem with my roof at home, and I didn't know what to do, so I called City Hall. Shannon Yossi, our public works director, returned the call, gave me great advice. But the thing that I really appreciated with this problem, I called City Hall, the fact that he called me back right away and helped me out. So I really appreciate the timeliness of that, and he gave me good advice. So thank you, Shannon. And also, Joanne Wilner, a public person who was real involved in our city. She died recently, so I think we shall give condolences to her family. And Andy McIntyre, I wish you good luck as our new city councilman.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Blanca Venzer.
Hello, my name is Blanca Venzer. I'm a resident of West Covina. I'm going to make it very short because I wanted to address Steve Herford. Did you mention at all why he isn't here? I'm just curious. When a member is not here, do you announce that they're not here?
I believe had the flu. I'm not sure.
Okay, but I just think it would be courteous to let the constituents know that a member is not here for whatever reason. Okay, I will be back.
Am I correct on that?
Yes, he was out with the flu tonight.
Okay, that's nice. That'd be nice. Something in the future to remember, because I know that usually happens when someone is not here. They don't let the constituents know why they're not here. Well, this person is not here due to whatever. That would be a nice thing to do. So I will be back when he is present, because I do want to address his comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Herb Redholz.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and good evening to all of you. Congratulations, Andy. We're looking for good things from you out of that seat, okay? I know you'll come through. I am up here tonight speaking on item number 4, which I would appreciate if, when the time comes, you could pull it for a staff report and separate action. It concerns the appointment of city commissioners. When I saw this item on the agenda, when I looked at it online, I immediately thought that it would be staff asking the council for direction, which way to go when it comes to the appointment of commissioners, due to the fact that for the first time, I think, in the history of the city, every single commission term expires on the same day on March 31st, which is next month. So I was a bit surprised, disappointed, and to be honest with you, somewhat angry when I read that staff was instead recommending to you a blanket reappointment of every single commissioner. Then as I read further, I noted that, gee, they're doing that because not a single solitary person in the city of West Covina had applied or expressed any interest in serving on a commission. This, in my memory, which goes back like 20 some odd years, is unprecedented. We just had, the last time all the commission terms were available, we were inundated with people that wanted to serve. We just had an appointment come forward for the council, and there were 17 people that applied for that. You would think maybe 1 or 2 or 3 might want to at least serve on a commission to get their feet wet. So it concerns me that perhaps there's something that we could do better to get the word out somehow. I'm not saying that, you know, all the procedures that are in place weren't followed, but I think we need to do something to cast a wider net to get people involved. Especially when my point is this tonight for me. When I found out that the door was being closed without even knowing that it had been opened, I immediately, this morning, I turned in a letter to the city clerk's office with letting you know of my interest to serve on the Planning Commission. So I understand that you've all received that. And if you decide to take action tonight, or if it is your decision to carry this forward to perhaps give others a chance to apply that may not have known the window was open, I would certainly appreciate your giving my letter every consideration, because I am ready and willing and able to serve on the Planning Commission again. So I thank you for your time, and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Elsie Messman.
Mayor, council, staff, and everyone here tonight. My name is Elsie Messman, and I'm a resident of West Covina. I, too, would like to thank Shannon and Mr. Hernandez for the good work they did regarding our street cleaning. We now have 8 out of 13 key streets to be cleaned. I want to thank you again. I would also like to thank Mr. Bachman for his knowledge and his caring leadership. It's a shame the city manager's job did not go to an experienced, qualified individual such as Mr. Bachman, who has proved he cares. Here again, the city residents are the big losers. I've been to most of the oversight board meetings, and Mr. Bachman has answered approximately 95% of the questions asked. Mr. Pazmat and now Mr. Chung passed the questions to Mr. Bachman to answer. I understand the city has hired a consultant. Now that shows me that someone does not know what they're doing. My question to this council is, why is management leaving? Our city controller left, our city manager left, the fire chief is leaving, community service director left, and a councilman. I also understand there's more coming. Our safety is in serious jeopardy. We have gone from 129 police officers to 88, and the fire department does not have proper equipment, but yet we have money for full-time benefits for part-time council members. Example is retirement and the medical, like Lloyd Johnson had stated. We also have money for the attorney for lawsuits that should have been paid by the individuals. On February 5th council meeting, the 3 council members made a poor choice in an appointment. Was it a choice for a yes councilman or a choice for our city? Like I said, Andy McIntyre would get Hereford and Sotelo's vote. Remember, money talks. Mary Sanderson did not even take a breath before she seconded the motion. Apparently, this council picks their vacancies by who they know, not for what they know. We have a couple examples already. Sotelo, he ran for council and lost. Armburst, another appointee, ran for council and lost. McIntyre ran for the water board and lost. Councilman Seitz ran twice as an unknown, not from South Hills, but one on his own. This council forgets it works for all the residents of West Covina, and we will not stop, walk away, or move until we get fair and equal representation citywide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Albert Vinzer. Oh, he did? Okay, thank you so much. Our next speaker then is John Shoemaker.
Boy, aren't you happy you took that appointment? Welcome to the City Council. I know you'll give it your best bet. I know the type of character you have. So I disagree with some of the folks out here, politely, but, I think everybody will give you the chance that you deserve to show what you're very capable of doing. One of the things I want to talk about is when a person comes up onto the council, it's always interesting to see what they're going to contribute. Do they understand what's going on in the city, considering the severe financial problems that our community faces? For example, we've been pulling money from a bond payment fund to give the impression that we have liquid reserves. Our city manager telling the oversight committee that if we have to pay back money the state claims we're not entitled to, we can't meet payroll. And a bank who would not give the city a line of credit for $2.5 million when it supposedly had $29 million in that bank. You understand that concept. Something's wrong, right? On tonight's agenda, we have the following. Councilmember Sotelo is seeking the City's Council's consensus to instruct city staff to prepare a study identifying the needs of the fire department to replace or maintain the existing fire vehicles. In addition, let's establish some sort of fund for replacements. Coincidentally, on tonight's agenda is an item that says the city, like most cities, the city has struggled to provide core services, reduced resources due to the recession, state takeaways. This includes the deferral of capital needs. General fund spending on capital items has not occurred for several years, and reserves that otherwise would have been used for one-time capital needs have instead been used for operating purposes. What's interesting about that comment is it's been on every budget and every mid-year review at least since 2007. This fine staff has been saying, hey guys, we got a problem. And some of the people to your left have been saying, no, we don't. We balance the budget. Well, let me explain to you one of the requirements of balancing a budget. I put in a budget the first of this year for my home that I'm going to make $1 trillion. And I'm going to spend $1 trillion. Now, it's probably going to be about 1/10 of 1% of one, less, so many zeros I can't keep track of it, of what really is going to happen. But it's balanced. No basis in reality. The sad thing is that since at least 2007, those comments are there, that I would really expect a person who's been involved in our city, been involved in the Planning Commission, would know this and would not be wasting staff's time saying, let's do a study for something that they've already been telling us about for at least 6 years. I can answer the questions very straightforward. The fund is there. It's called the budget. The fund is spent on day-to-day expenses. No study, no waste of time, no waste of money. Is there anything else you'd like to know? Because I'll be happy to answer it, because it's been in city documents year after year after year. Please read them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Ray Hernandez.
Good evening, Mayor Sal Sanderson and council members. Tonight I'd like to speak on the importance of the web. The growing importance of the web, reaching millions of viewers worldwide with the invention of new consumer devices from smartphones to tablets and new technologies not out yet, are spreading the word by blog, by tweet, by way of other social medias, faster and more efficient than ever. That is the future of communication. For example, the Los Angeles Times, September 2012. Dish introduces internet service. The second largest U.S. satellite TV provider introduced a nationwide broadband internet service called DishNet. The San Gabriel Weekly News, November 2012. West Covina public safety alerts are now available to residents via the web or text message, thanks to the push by the West Covina Police Department to utilize social media sites to deliver information to the public. This is an excellent method of communication tool for the community. Kudos to the West Covina Police Department to support and make this website available to its residents. USA Today, October 2012. How body language holds transparency. With body language, you can assess the ease, humor, and other traits signaled by body language. This method is just a way to find out what we really want to know about our leaders. How one presents themselves, how they look side by side, how candidates or council think and speak on their feet, and how they address us. This November, the city elections are coming. I would like to believe we will have the ability to clearly see images of candidates on the debate forums. LA Times, November 2012. I Love Lucy TV production. Lucy broke ground in television by employing 3 cameras instead of 1 for filming back in 1950, 63 years ago. The reason I mention this to you, West Covina leadership needs to improve its antiquated web production and be part of the 21st century. With that being said, I'd like to thank Chris Freeland for his diligent research to find a solution. I think he has it before you, and I hope that the majority of this council approves that suggestion he's brought forth. Thank you very much, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Shirley Buchanan.
Good evening, Mayor Sanderson, council members, city staff, and members of the audience. I would like to welcome Mr. McIntyre to the West Covina City Council. I feel certain you have been briefed on the names of the citizens that show up at the council meetings. I hope you will judge for yourself how much we care about this city. Now on to what occurred at the February 5th council meeting, when Councilman Herford directed a racial slur to Councilman Sykes. It should not be condoned or swept under the carpet. Appropriate action to make sure it never happens again should be addressed by the council. A suggestion is that this council may handle this very serious, offensive action the same way it handled the censoring of Councilman Hernandez in 2007. A lot of discussion took place at 3 council meetings in 2007 and ended with a resolution to censor the councilman on February 21st, 2007. Prior to the resolution vote, it should be noted that Councilman Herford asked Special Counsel Chrysler what options were available to bring closure to the issue of the behavior of Councilman Hernandez. Special Counsel Chrysler stated that as an elected official, the councilman in question cannot be removed from office and presented the following as possible options: file and receive the report and take no action. Recommend that the councilman voluntarily participate in training in building positive and sensitive working relationships with staff and city-related business. Take action that unless or until the councilman enrolls and successfully completes such training, he can meet with city staff in limited defined circumstances, or adopt a resolution of censure. Resolution 2007-7 was passed by the West Covina City Council approving censure of the council member for violating the City of West Covina administration, harassment policy, and the City of West Covina standing rules. The ayes were Herford, Lane, Sanderson, and Toohey. Whereas the 2007 resolution on censoring involved a complaint from some city staff against Councilman Hernandez, the incident of February 5th involved Councilman Herford making an ethnic slur directed to another councilman. Councilman Herford does have a tendency to use demeaning words like biddies, a word he described in the San Gabriel Valley Tribune during the recall about senior citizen women that were walking for the recall, and now the inference that Councilman Sykes voted against seating a new councilman on the basis of his ethnic makeup. It is suggested that the council agendize an item at the next city council meeting that will censure Councilman Herford, and that he be given the option of voluntarily participating in a training program to build a positive and sensitive working relationship with the other council members and the citizens of West Covina, and that he report back to the council at a public meeting when he has completed the positive and sensitive working relationship training. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Betty Valles.
Good evening, Mayor Sanderson and the council staff and the staff. I'm Betty Valles, or Aurora Valles, and I am a resident of here, West Covina, living here for about 35 years. I'd like to congratulate you, Andy, for the services you're going to be rendering to our city. I know you will be doing a wonderful job for the city. You do care for the city. And I am very disappointed at some of the people, the gossip that I've been hearing or the rumors that are hearing against your appointment. I want to remind all of those people that have those negative thoughts about you is that they have to understand you have the same right as I do or any other citizen here in West Covina that's a resident of West Covina to file to serve as a council person. I am very pleased that the council here had the knowledge to accept you and appoint you as our councilman. Again, congratulations. And just remember, he is very well qualified to do the job for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. That is the end of our consent calendar. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and speaking out and discussing with us. And again, if anybody would like to meet, they can call City Hall at 626-939-8401 if they have any question. And Councilmember McIntyre would like the floor.
Hi. For those of you who haven't gotten to know me, before you form an opinion, I would love to meet with you afterwards. I forgot your name, sir, in the red shirt, and Elsie, to please at least have a discussion with me so that way you can at least understand where I'm coming from, my history in this community. I might ramble on a minute here, but my decisions are going to be based on a common theme that I keep hearing tonight, which is revenue issues, problems. We need more revenue for more police, more streets, better schools. But I think we can all agree up here on this council that at the end of the day, whether we achieve it or not, I want the most cops possible on the streets. I want my streets to be perfect. I want the schools to be brand new. I mean, that's what we're all aiming for. Whether we get there or not, that's what we all should be shooting for. And all those things cost money. So a lot of my decisions are going to be based on trying to figure out ways to generate more revenue for this city. And that's my opinion, and that's what I'm going to try to achieve. We can agree to disagree on those things, but that's basically where I'm going to be basing my decisions off of. So please, again, I extend an invitation to anybody just to get to know me before you form an opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments of council? Then we will continue on with our meeting. I know there were a few residents that come forward, and I know I like to try and address some of the comments, but I think most of it was more just conversation. I know there was discussion about the concerns about the commissions, in which this is somewhat of a new process to us, because before each council member appointed individuals. Recently, we went to a full body vote council appointment. So I think that's the reason that it's on the consent and as it is. However, saying that, we as a council can always, make any action that we choose to have the staff follow. And I know that's going to be coming up on our consent. We had the 2 commissions that are going to be vacant, and we can deal with it at that time if anyone would like to pull those items. So with that, and I know there was a discussion of let me look, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes. I think that's pretty much covered it. So if there's nothing else, we'll go to the consent calendar, and a motion is in order unless anyone would like to pull item 4 for the appointment to the city commissions. Councilmember Sykes.
Yes, Madam Mayor, can we pull 4 so we can
Absolutely.
discuss, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
So a motion is in order to approve the consent. I need a motion
I had to recluse myself.
for an item in particular.
Item number 4. Maybe discuss it.
The appointment of the commissioners? Okay. Did we?
4 has been pulled, so the vote is to consider everything except for number 4.
Okay, I guess I'm unclear as to why.
Councilmember Sotelo, I understand, has a potential conflict because he has a family member who is up for appointment on one of the commissions.
Okay,
And
so we can take the vote on the consent minus, we're pulling item 4.
Okay.
So if you want a motion or a motion.
I motion to approve the consent.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, although item 4 has been pulled?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 4-0. Now we'll handle item 4, and now you can go.
Madam Mayor, just so the audience understands, Councilmember Sotelo does have a family member who's up for appointment, who is on one of the commissions, and so out of caution and to preserve any issues with conflict of interest, he's not participating in that item.
Very good. Councilmember Sykes.
Madam Mayor, I am quite aware of Mr. Redholt's paying close attention to what is going on in the city. And I asked this item to be pulled because if there's a problem for him, then I can imagine that there's a problem for a number of residents as to what the process is, what the procedure is, when and where can people get involved to be on a Citizens Advisory Commission. So with that, can we have perhaps a report from the staff as to how the information was put out and the process?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, staff report. Who will be doing the staff report, Mr. Chung?
Do you want a staff report, or do you just want to answer that question?
Yeah, I think just a brief staff report, if that will be Mr. Freeland.
Then Chris Freeland will present the staff report, and I can add any additional comments as necessary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Before you tonight is the reappointment of city commissioners to our 3 city commissions, those being the Community and Senior Services Commission, Human Resources, and Planning. As you mentioned earlier, in 2010, the City Council restructured the process for appointing city commissioners, and you also established a 3-year term for those commissioners. Those terms began on April 1st, 2010, and expire next month, March 31st, 2013. Per the California Code, the City Clerk's Office is required to post a listing of all commission seats that will expire in 2013. The Government Code required that this to be done prior to December 31st, 2012. The City Clerk's Office did post the required information as a public notice on the bulletin board outside the council chambers, at the library, and we also put a notification on the city's website. That was completed on December 19th, 2012. The notice encouraged residents to apply for any one of the city commissions, and at this time of the report was done, the city had not received any applications. It is my understanding, based on Mr. Chung's comments tonight, that the City Clerk's Office has since received an application from an individual to serve on the Planning Commission and one to serve on the Community Services and Senior Services Commission. In addition, Mr. Chung mentioned, as part of the changes to the agenda, that Commissioner Nance has submitted a letter of resignation from the Human Resources Commission, and John Glenn has requested that he not be reappointed to the Community and Senior Services Commission. Therefore, there are 2 vacancies on the Community and Senior Services Commission and 1 for the Human Resources Commission. City staff is recommending the following. The City Council adopt a resolution reappointing the 8 commissioners that wish to remain on the Community and Senior Services Commission. 2, that the City Council adopt a resolution reappointing the 4 commissioners that wish to remain on the Human Resources Commission. And 3, that the City Council adopt a resolution reappointing the 5 commissioners that wish to remain on the Planning Commission unless the City Council wishes to have discussion on the application received for the Planning Commission since the posting of this agenda report. The vacancies on the Human Resources and Community Services Commission can be addressed as a separate report in the future unless the City Council wishes to address one of those vacancies based on the letter that you have received. That concludes staff report, and both Mr. Chung, Ms. Rush, and I are here to answer any questions you may have.
And I just want to add real quick that there are options that we did list in the staff report, which provided various options, just 3 options, which is to adopt the resolutions, to seek applications from individuals and consider reappointments to various commissions at a future council meeting, or to provide alternative direction.
Okay, thank you so much. With that, is there any questions of staff from council? Okay, seeing none, I know we have 2 vacancies. Would that be possible to bring those vacancies back at a later meeting? Because obviously we would need some applications for those positions.
Yes, there's actually going to be 3 vacancies that we'll bring back to you.
Okay, so you can bring those back at a later meeting. Okay, if there's no other further questions, a motion is in order to approve the resolutions as set before us. Any other comments? McIntyre.
I guess just so walk me through the options again. We have option of approving what we have in front of us.
You have this is at the pleasure of the City Council.
Do you have
I don't have the.
He doesn't have an agenda, so.
Essentially, your options are that you could approve the resolutions as with the various changes.
These would be the appointees as they are now, minus the 3 vacancies. If we approve these resolutions, that's going to stay the same. And then we'll come back with the 3 that are going to be vacant. We'll need applications for those.
Or you can consider, you can request direct staff to seek applications for one or all of the appointments, positions, or you can provide us with any alternative direction.
Thank you, Don. Do you want to bring this back? I mean, maybe
Yeah,
we can bring this back when Councilmember Herford's here, if that's amenable to the council?
And plus, yeah, just me getting
Getting a
sworn
chance
in
to look
tonight,
at it
yeah,
and everything.
digest it all to
Absolutely.
make this important
Okay,
decision.
then the
so.
motion is in order, that if we could hold this over to the next meeting?
I motion to hold it over to the next
Okay,
meeting.
and a second?
A second.
Okay, a motion and a second to hold over to the next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0, and we can get Rob to come back in, and thank you so much. I know I don't have an agenda in front of you, that's a little difficult. Okay, we're at the end of our consent, and as soon as Councilmember Sotelo comes back in, he is next on the agenda, which is item number 8, under Mayor Council Reports. Councilmember Sotelo, procedures for establishing City Council term limits.
Yes, I asked to look into term limits. I wanted to see what other cities were doing and what it took to get term limits and what it took to imply term limits to the city of West Covina. Right now, I was looking at it, I've been reading it, I've been reading about the different cities, what they're doing. What I'd like to do is, I don't know how the other staff member, how other council members feel. I'd like to go over this and really digest it and go through it and talk to some of the other cities since we just got it, and then find out if we can make a motion, we can bring it back. But I wanted to know about term limits. We weren't sure how you're going to vote on them, if it was the people who vote on them, we vote on them, or how things go with this. So I don't know how you guys feel about it.
You want to make a motion to hold over to a future meeting, Councilmember Sykes?
Madam Mayor, since this is your item that you requested, what is your goal? Why did you request it?
I wanted to look into it. People mentioned about having term limits, and they weren't sure about whether we could impose term limits or the residents had to impose term limits. If you read this report, it's going to cost, I forgot how many thousands of dollars to put in term limits for the next election and different things. If we put it in there, I want to see how much it's going to cost and what it's done for the other cities and what other cities do. And I wanted to learn more about term limits. That's basically it. Why I asked for the information from the staff.
Thank you.
Do you have a motion? Do you want to make a motion to hold it over?
I'd like to make a motion, we hold it over.
Okay. A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Madam Mayor,
Uh,
I oppose.
Okay. To holding it over?
I think that it is a waste of funds, and we don't need to waste funds. To put it in a nutshell, in addition to the fact that we are spending money where we shouldn't be spending it at this time, because we just don't have the luxury not to be efficient. Now, I look at recalls, I look at the petition or initiative for districts to put a cap on political spending, as was addressed by one of the speakers tonight. All of these issues are brought forth by folks who are desperately, and this is by a few folks, and that's the key thing. When you have a few folks that are trying to direct, put the city on course, they're paying attention, and they're trying to put the city in the direction that they feel would be best for them. The problem with all these initiatives is that when you put in the hard work and you get it to the ballot, and sometimes they vote, such as Palmdale, same thing in West Covina, they ask for districts, and in 2001, Palmdale said no. And then today in the LA Times, there's a lawsuit. The city's in court. That is a gross waste of money, time, and energy. And it reminds me of what happened at the last city council meeting. Somehow, folks have lost connection with what it means to vote, with what it means to be involved. So now here it is later, Palmdale, they're trying to wake up. And all they had to do in 2001 was to show up and vote. And more importantly, or should I say just as equally as important, is to study the issues. And so now here we are with this factor of term limits. I suggest that you study concepts such as supermajority of 4 and what that means. It affects the commissions as we select them. And it also affects why this idea is being brought forth. If democracy is going to work, it works best when the majority speaks. That's the problem with West Covina right now. The majority is not paying attention. Putting someone on a government position that you have to vote for, you're voting for that person because you trust them to protect and assert your interests. Too many times, the few who vote, they control. They're in control. And when the majority shows up, they can take control. And you won't have to spend a lot of money going and dealing with the lawsuits. And that's the sad case of Palmdale. And it's even worse when you look at what's going on with our Sacramento and term limits. There's a yin and a yang, there's a good and a bad. Yes, term limits can allow you to get rid of the quote unquote, a gentleman used the term scoundrels. Term limits may help you do that, may help you limit the scoundrels. But also keep in mind those term limits cut both ways. You may find that the majority, if they show up, may trust somebody, may grow to love someone and respect them, and not want to see them leave prematurely, especially in the situation we're in now. The city has a lot of work to do to get things back in order. Short on police, short on fire. Public safety is in dire straits. It's going to take a lot of work. So the focus on term limits is narrow-minded. The city should be focusing and spending our money on getting people involved, trying to figure out how to communicate, just like we're tonight. The reason why I called and asked for that to be taken off the consent calendar, because I'm begging and pleading. Get involved. That's what your Citizens Advisory Commissions should be. People that care and that are involved. And those people who think that they want to be involved, a good place to start is on a commission. You get up close and personal information about your city and how it functions. You get a better idea as a commissioner than if you just stay home and watch TV, or if you just look at the newspaper waiting to get information about what's going on. So, in conclusion, you folks that are here, please talk to your neighbors. Get them involved. The commission position's open. Get them to come to City Hall. And democracy will start to work, and you won't need recalls because the vote will take care of that. If the people aren't happy with someone, if they think that that person is not taking care of them, they can vote them out. Or they can do a recall quickly. Now, we had probably about 6,000 to 8,000 people that signed the two last initiatives. The first initiative that was brought forth lost by fewer votes than the folks who signed the initiative. And I dare say that the same thing is going to happen when we put term limits, because the supermajority of 4, they're going to put on term limits because that's what they want.
Mr. Sykes, I'd like to...
And I will. Just give me a moment.
That's not
And so, excuse me?
acceptable.
What's not acceptable? Facts?
You think that that's facts. You know what I'm going to vote. I don't want to argue with you, sir. Just please finish.
Okay. Term limits are being brought forth, just like the changing of the commissioners, of how it was done. That gives power. That gives power to where it's concentrated. It helps it stay there. It helps the status quo. So, folks, the bottom line is democracy works when we show up as a community. We have 112,000 people. We only have 50,000 that are registered to vote. Democracy works best when the majority speaks. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I would like to briefly say we did have a motion and a second on the order, and I'd like to be very clear, because of the comments that have just been made, that I was simply giving Councilmember Sotelo the courtesy to get his information so that he can study it. I personally do not support term limits, okay? So, and I really think it's very sad, the constant majority this, majority that. We all vote how we see fit, whether it's with somebody or not with somebody. So let's please do our very, very best to respect your colleagues and make sure that we are all just making the decisions based on what we feel is very, very best. I, again, simply was giving Mr. Sotelo the courtesy, and that's why, I wanted you to go ahead and speak as well. I want to give you the courtesy to express. But it's very difficult when that, to keep order of our meetings when those type of words are used, and I think I just want to make sure that we're very, very clear. And then I see Mr. Sotelo, like I said, we have a motion, a second, and we need to take the vote. I'll allow Mr. Sotelo to briefly respond, and then we need to move forward on
the vote was taken. My vote was no.
Oh, absolutely, you are correct.
All 3 of you voted yes.
You are correct. Thank you for that.
So this is done.
Okay, so Mr. Sotelo briefly, and then we need to move on to the next item on the agenda.
The reason why I brought up term limits is because our community asked me about term limits. Our community asked me, how come we don't have term limits? I don't know. I didn't know why we didn't have term limits. I know that they had asked about it. They wanted to know about it. They had questions about it and how it was worked and how you did this with term limits. It was a question that was brought up, okay? As far as I'm concerned, if you have term limits, you're not going to have people here for 25 years. You're going to have a turnover of more council member. You're going to have different council member here. That's what these people are asking me, all right? That's what people are brought up to me, these questions, all right? That's why I brought up the term limits. It wasn't for no majority. It was no nothing. It was for more informational item and find out how many communities actually had term limits and how many communities, what they had. That's all these people wanted to know, and that's what I asked staff to do. And that's right now I'm trying to go through this information I got from staff over 2 months ago. I got the information down, and now I don't want to go through it. So, I mean, you can disagree with me, whatever, but I'm saying is there was no hidden agenda for term limits that I was going to keep Shelley here for another 30 years to say you can have a 30-year term limit, all right, or you a 30-year term limit. May the best man win, you know. But what I'm saying is, they just wanted this information, that's it. Thank you.
Let's move on to item number 9, which is our council member reports. Councilmember Fred Sykes, consideration of a rental housing inspection and regulatory program. Did you want a staff report, or did you want to go ahead and discuss that item, Councilmember Sykes?
Madam Mayor, let's first proceed with the staff.
Okay.
Let them proceed. Thank you.
Shannon Yossi will give that staff report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Recently, the City of Covina passed an ordinance that would require a permit to rent any housing units in the city, including apartments, motels, hotels, and single-family homes. Owners of these properties would have to apply for a permit annually and obtain an inspection and approval to rent the units. Units with code violations would be required to make repairs prior to the issuance of these rental permits. While the program's not quite fully operational yet in Covina, normally a single inspector would inspect single-family homes and smaller projects, while a task force of police, fire, code enforcement, building, engineering, health inspectors would then inspect larger apartment units or hotel motels. The program is intended to be self-funding based on the permit fees that are collected. In December, the City Council asked for more information on this program. I did want to note that West Covina has recently passed a foreclosure ordinance that would cover all vacant residential and commercial properties. Also, the fire department does regular fire code inspections on commercial and apartment buildings throughout the city. West Covina has an estimated 13,000 to 14,000 rental units. That includes single-family homes, hotels, motels, and apartments. It is, however, difficult to estimate the number of single-family rentals as they're not licensed. There's really no reliable way to track those. So that number is an estimate. So tonight, there are a number of questions to consider, such as what exactly will the ordinance cover? Is it intended to cover single-family homes, multifamily apartments, hotels, motels, commercial rentals, or leases? Those are some of the options. Also, will the program only cover the exterior of the building and the property, or will it also extend to the interior, as in some cases in Covina? We did want to note that larger complexes, apartments normally have an on-site manager, so it's often easier to get a hold of someone to resolve issues. They're often also many times better maintained and more responsive. So there's a question if those should be included or exempted. As was mentioned, there's no exact way to identify all single-family rentals. So if they are included, it would require some outreach to those owners and maybe some sort of grace period for them to come into compliance and register. Also, some of the questions: will the program be limited to basic property maintenance standards and the exterior of the building, or would it extend to a task force in some cases, such as that in Covina, that would then include a makeup of code enforcement, building, fire, police, health, inspectors? Also, we did want to note that as we get more details and refine a program, the City Attorney's Office will need to review the program and any fees to ensure its compliance with Proposition 218 and 26. These two propositions do require a vote of affected parties in the case that a fee is deemed to be a tax or a fee other than certain exempted inspection fees. It is unclear, and consulting with the city attorney may clarify if all costs could be recouped. There's questions about appeals or possible criminal prosecution for violations of the code, which may not be able to be recouped in the fees. So with this in the staff report, we do have options laid out to pursue a housing program that would cover all residential rentals, such as in Covina, or pursue a more limited housing inspection program that would only cover certain divisions of these rental units, such as maybe only the smaller apartments, smaller hotels and motels, and or maybe only single-family rentals, or some combination of these at the City Council's direction. And then the final option would be to not pursue a housing inspection program at this time.
Okay, thank you. Does council have any questions of staff? Okay. Seeing none, Councilmember Sykes, any other comments? This is your item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I brought this forth because of Covina's idea of being able to fund the effort to police and clean up a matter that where they were having problems. I think it was in particular an apartment complex that was creating a lot of calls for service by the police. And it was just in general bringing down the standards of the city. And so I'm hoping that tonight, whatever I can get in the way of support from my colleagues, when we look at the one line that says, City of West Covina currently has only one code enforcement officer. That is certainly quite below where we need to be for a 17 square mile city. As a matter of fact, the last council meeting, we had such vast construction, it was unbelievable that someone could add so much to their property and not get the attention of city officials. So my main effort is to try to figure out how do we think out of how we've been doing things, how can we get some funding to get back on track, because that is part of an important job for the residents, and that's keeping up the standards. That's what the codes are for. And that's why we enforce those codes, so we can protect the standards that we are accustomed to in the city of West Covina. And right now, when we have no force, no unit that's able to enforce those codes to the standard of being able to respond, and more importantly, preemptive, not to find out later that someone almost built another house onto the rear of a home. I mean, that is just unbelievable. And again, I revert back to the fact that we have 17 square miles that we need to be concerned about. And keeping those standards up is important. That's why people moved to West Covina and didn't stop at some of these other areas where we know that the codes are somewhat different. You can just tell by the structures as you drive by on your way to West Covina. And if we're not careful, West Covina will start to look like some of those structures that we drive by and say, man, I'm glad I live in West Covina. And that's about code enforcement. So whatever we can come up with, we have some very seasoned council members, one well over 20 years. And it's unfortunate that he's not here tonight to give his input. But I'm hoping that we can get a study off the ground to see how we can have some funding brought to the code. I have seen, as soon as I got elected, I went to a couple of apartments where we were giving out Christmas gifts. And I was shocked at the standards of the apartments. And this rental property had makeshift signatures, signage on the mailboxes. It looked like we were in third world country or something, certain parts of our community. And so we have a gap that we need to fill in. And I'm hoping I can get some support here on getting a study done where we can get some funding to bring back some members to the staff so we can get back to doing preemptive type activity in our code enforcement and being able to respond when people call about these issues, being able to respond quickly. So that's all I'm asking for. It's just whatever you guys, because most of you, in particular the mayor, you definitely have more seniority than I do, and perhaps you have some ideas on how we can go forward and get this study on the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comments from council? Councilmember McIntyre.
Let me approach this from a practicality standpoint. I heard that we have roughly somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 to 14,000 units in West Covina, with a few more possibly that are unregistered single-family homes type of deal. And we only have one code enforcement. We've got revenue problems. We're understaffed already. Resources are already stressed. And now we want to create a new rule, Big Brother, coming into people's houses to regulate how they're rented. And that is one approach to trying to solve the problem, although my approach would be more in the lines of making the town nicer, creating more demand to live here, causing people to fix their properties up because their units are completely full, they're generating enough revenue. The competition leads to a finer product as opposed to more rules and regulations on an already stressed system, to where we can, with this, would prevent staff from being able to focus on the day-to-day things of fixing up the buildings, allowing people to get their plans processed, and focusing just, I mean, we have limited resources. It's just completely impractical, and not to mention it's Big Brother coming in and looking in constantly. It's just impractical in my view.
Thank you. I wanted to ask a quick question of staff, because that's really not covered exactly in here. And I had a couple concerns. I understand where this is going and the intention, so, and that's why I agreed to, bring it to this point. I've been doing a little bit of research, and the cost recovery. Do we have any information on that? Because I agree that what was said is, and we do need more code enforcement. However, I don't know if this is going to solve that. It just might make them have a little bit higher of a workload that we can't afford to pay, and that's my concern. So I don't know if you have any information on the cost recovery of something like this. And then the other question is we talk about standards and whatnot, and you'd like to see people take pride in their property. Absolutely, because West Covina residents are actually what make West Covina nice, not our code enforcement coming in and saying, hey, you're messy. I mean, they do obviously help keep it, and I agree with that, but a lot of times landlords will, our company does tenant improvement type stuff in other communities, and I'll tell you, a lot of the issues are the people that live there. The landlord will put, fire sprinklers up and do all these things, and then the tenants will come in and take them down and wreck it, and then when they leave, then the landlord has to come in. And my concern is the cost recovery, the landlords and their impact, as well as compliance. I mean, how are we going to have people that will voluntarily say, oh, I have a rental house? I mean, there's a lot of questions going on, and I'm having concerns with that. So I don't know if you could briefly address those questions.
Yeah, I'll try to address some of those questions. Yeah, it is the single-family house where you've got an absentee landlord who's renting it out. Those would be very difficult possibly to get permitted if they didn't do that voluntarily. That's why we had suggested maybe some sort of education program or PR program to put the word out. If people, ignored us, there was really is very little way to verify those. No really dependable way. As far as the fees, we didn't have the city attorney yet comment on this in detail. But I did want to read you something from Covina's staff report that it clearly says that any of the fees collected shall be used solely to finance the costs of the registration, inspection, and enforcement of the rental housing inspection program. So if we were to use this to staff code enforcement staff, then they could only work on this program. If they worked on other programs, then you're into the area of a tax, which requires a vote of the people under Prop 218 or Prop 26. So it would have to be very carefully structured. Was there one other question?
Yeah, Shannon, can you also address the cost issue and the recovery issue?
Well, I guess it does say in the report that it's cost revenue neutral, and that's actually what you were saying in reference to that monies go to paying those people to do that job exclusively, and so it would just be a cost neutral.
Yeah,
and I had compliance, and then the landlords, being a burden to the landlords. I guess, how would that? be answered? I mean, I guess it'd be probably something difficult to answer.
Yeah, in the staff report and the fiscal impact, which Shannon should address, is the fact is that based upon the Covina model, the estimated costs would be about $675,000 to the city, and the estimated revenues would be about $500,000, which would be a net cost to us of approximately $175,000 per year.
Okay.
So I just want to point that out.
I mean, I would rather do a program where we encourage people to fix their places up. You know, maybe give them some kind of a I don't know, tax break or something. I don't know. Just something to encourage people to want to, you know, I mean, maybe that's more the direction. I think maybe that's more direction I want to go. Anyways, Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Yasi, if you can just kind of briefly just address the issue at the southeast corner of Amar and Azusa, that property issue. Just kind of go through what we had to go through to try to get that cleaned up. Just kind of let people know what we're going through.
That was the vacant Blockbuster building?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was in foreclosure, so that was a very difficult property where you had an owner who wouldn't take any responsibility. They were going bankrupt, and at the last minute, then they also went into foreclosure, and a bank took over. So they ended up drawing out that process for a very long time. That was a commercial property. And it was a foreclosure, so it's a little bit unique because it's probably now would be covered under our new foreclosure ordinance, where those get registered, and so we will have a more direct contact with the responsible parties or the banks, which is one of the problems with foreclosures. A lot of times is just finding who is the responsible party.
Thank you, sir. Madam Mayor, I think Councilmember McIntyre had something he wanted to say.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. You do this until I see you. You could do this, and,
Sorry, it was
and
just
then I'll
one-
give you the floor. Councilmember McIntyre.
It was just one little added thing, something that we could maybe encourage property owners to do. It's one of those situations where responsible property owners are going to be responsible, and irresponsible property owners are going to be irresponsible, and they're going to always try to be skirting the systems, and those are the ones that are the problem to begin with. So the enforcement is just, you know, it's one of those, how do you do it other than possibly making the process of going through fixing up the buildings easier, maybe more palatable, so people when they leave say, hey, instead of explaining, wow, that was difficult, it took forever, 2 months, 3 months to get this reviewed and that reviewed, to free that up to where people are like, wow, then it makes it easier to go through the process, encourage that, which then drives more people, investors and so forth, responsible property owners to want to come in here and do business. So that would, to me, be the best method to improving those rental situations that are a problem, as opposed to Big Brother stepping in and saying, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, you got to do this, you got to do that. It just, I just think it's bad policy.
Okay. With that, any other discussion? And we have a motion in order. You want to make a motion? Somebody? I'll make a motion. We receive and file.
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Sykes?
could you just address your idea again regarding
An incentive?
going forward? Yes.
Maybe we can have another may I item in reference to creating some type of incentive programs or see what other communities are doing. Because I support you 100% on making sure these rentals, I mean, absolutely, but I also agree with Councilmember McIntyre where, you know, we've got to find the right way to do that. And I think that we can with some other approach maybe, possibly. So if maybe, you know, we could bring that back and get some research on what other communities are doing as far as incentives to, you know, I know years ago we used to have like competitions and stuff on landscaping and all that. And I know with just everybody being busy and with the economy being what it is, I think that type of thing has just gone, you know, away. And I think that's kind of what makes your community is the people that live in it. And we want to encourage them to put numbers on their mailboxes and do all these things. So I don't know if that's just something we can bring back and discuss at a later time if you're interested in that.
So would that be a motion to study from that perspective?
It's up to the
I'd second that
majority,
because I'd hate to see it die.
I motion.
We need to do something.
I motion to create some sort of educational program for irresponsible landlords, maybe the city can send them a reminder to please be a good neighbor or something of the like.
All right.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
Just
Mr.
to-
City Attorney.
I would suggest that the motion be characterized in a certain way, characterized as a motion to ask staff to place this on the agenda as a Mother May I item in the upcoming
Okay,
council meeting.
okay. So then this item won't die, I mean, this will be a receive and file, but then we'll have it come back as a Mother May I item. If Mr. McIntyre would like to take the lead to do that, or Councilmember Sykes or whomever would like to do that, and we can bring it back at that, according to the city attorney, to make sure we're clean on that, if that's
Okay.
acceptable. So,
My motion is to have it return as a Mother May I, so we can
okay.
do some more research.
Okay, is
Take it
that
forward.
an okay motion? And then we can second that motion, Mr. City Attorney?
Almost there.
Almost there?
Almost there.
Come on, guide us here. Did you want to receive and file on this item? Okay, so we need a receive
Motion
and...
to receive and file this item.
Okay, we have a motion? And it's
Let's
just-
do them all in one motion. We can do a motion to receive and file in places of other may I together as a single motion.
As a single motion, okay? So,
I motion to receive and file and add as a Mother May I agenda item
correct, you got it.
to educate landlords,
With
or
a
create
program.
a program, to create a program to educate irresponsible landlords to fix up their
And
properties.
possibly an incentive program?
And possibly an incentive program and the like.
There you go. Do I have a second on that
I
motion?
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you for guiding us through that, everyone, and bear with us. And our next item on the agenda will take me a moment because I have to get back to my agenda item. Now we're at the Mother May I item. It doesn't actually say Mother May I, but it is the City Council request for reports and studies. We have to ask permission before we get to have our staff spend all this time on our items. So that's what I am doing in item number 10. That is my item where I'm requesting council support to instruct the city staff to prepare a report on the adoption of a citywide school violence training incentive program. At the last meeting, I had mentioned that I had watched a program where, we have earthquake drill safety for our children. We have fire drill safety for our children. And I know that the police department do programs with the schools, but I would like to maybe make a more vocal approach, a more publicized approach. Come on, Andy, you're supposed to help me with my words. Approach to the community so they're aware that we have a violence training program for our kids so they're safe to the best of our ability. And I know that the City Council, we don't govern our schools, but I would like to, we do have a wonderful, amazing police department, and we have a school liaison committee that we can meet with those schools and partner and create some kind of a citywide program for all the schools in the community. So that's what I'm asking. And if there was any questions or comments, I would take those at this time.
Can I just add one thing?
Yes.
With the various school districts, the programs could be different for each school district. So I just want to point that out to you.
Okay. And also, too, obviously, funding is going to be an issue. So that's something that, I don't know if there's grant funds out there or any type of funding for, we have a lot of different funds, like transportation funds. I know that can't be used for this, but there's just a lot of little different pockets of funds that when your tax dollars come in, it has to go to certain categories, and sometimes those categories aren't utilized. And so I want to, maybe part of this process to just see what I know, because when I'm saying something about the police department, they're up there going, oh my gosh, really? Oh, we have to do more, because money is tight. So I appreciate everything they do and I think the schools and our police, fire, cities all do so much with so little. And I think that's kind of where we're at. And so I am, going to be conscientious of that as well. So with that, any other questions or comments?
Maybe can we get a request to the different superintendents of our different school districts to find out what they're doing as far as violence training?
What will occur is that the police chief and the police department will be meeting with the individual school districts in order to develop programs with each school district itself. So they would be meeting with the superintendents.
Okay, you have to even see if they're interested as well.
Correct. We can come up with a program, but they may not implement it. So we want to coordinate with that in order that we're on the same page And I believe that, there already has been some discussion, and we would be able to bring back a comprehensive report on this.
Fantastic. Okay, with that, a motion is in order.
I motion to investigate our citywide school violence training programs that our different school districts have and gather more information.
And I will second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, the support. Next item on the agenda is item number 11, Councilmember Robert Sotelo. Request from Councilmember Robert Sotelo requesting City Council to instruct City staff to prepare a study identifying the needs of the fire department to replace and maintain their existing fire vehicles. Councilmember Sotelo.
I realize, as I was told, we have something in the budget for this, but if you talk to the fire department, you talk to the firemen, which I did, and I had the pleasure of meeting many of them, there are many things that they said we can make, and our community could be a much safer place if we had the different ambulances, if they had more updated equipment. And what I'm saying is if we could look into this and find out why we're not getting this updated equipment, why is it taking us so long? Why are all of our fire engines, everything are looking shiny and new, but they're running out. They're starting to break. Our infrastructure of our city, things are starting to break. I think we need to start looking into things like this. I know it's in the budget, but we need to start looking at this stuff. When I have an article in the paper, and I have two of our fire officials say they need help, and they're asking for help, it's my job as a council member to get them that help. I believe in public safety. I believe in our fire department. And I'd like to make their job a little bit easier. For when they go to kit, they go to pick up any of us, they have the full opportunity to have the best equipment and the best things at this time. And I want to find out from the staff how we can do it and what we can do to sit there and get some more money. I realize staff right now is looking for money to keep people in the seats of the fire engines. I realize that. But right now, I would also like to help them get new equipment and look for grants or anything ways we could get new equipment or other ways we could do things to help our police and fire department. I think it's up to me as a council member when I hear things to come forth with these things, even if it is in the budget, even if we're still looking at it, to find out why these things aren't coming to fruition. And then that's all I'm asking our staff, to find out how we can do to help and what we can do to make it a better place for all of us here in West Covina. We all talk the same game. We all talk public safety. We all talk about making it a better place for all of us. But let's see what we can do.
Okay, with that, do you want that to be a motion?
Make it a motion.
Make it a motion. I'll second the motion. Any other
Madam
comments or
Mayor.
questions? Councilmember Sykes.
I supported your idea on the school safety issue because that's extremely important. And I also feel that this item that we're about to vote on, the two items together, they fall short of where we need to be. They fall short. The public safety, school safety, Rolling Unified, they have their school police. However, West Covina, and I don't believe Covina has neither one. I don't believe they have school police. That means that the West Covina PD has that responsibility. A year ago, there was a request by staff to do a comprehensive study on our public safety options. And right now, we're losing a chief. We're losing a fire chief. And we have an option, whether we want to replace that fire chief or whether we want to have a public safety administrator. But it takes studying those options to see and educate ourselves about how we can go forward. We have options that most people here don't want to talk about on the city council because politics is in the mix. But we have options that we should study and look at when it comes to the county. We have quality cities. To the southeast, we have Diamond Bar and Walnut. They contract with the county for their public safety. I think the residents of West Covina need to have first of all, their eyes need to be opened about safety standards and where we should be with somewhere around 112,000 people, where we should be with how many peace officers we should have, with how many firefighters we should have. And they need to be apprised of what that cost to get back to the standards that West Covina has been accustomed to over the years. So, yes, I supported that previous agenda item because school safety is the utmost important, and we need to do something immediately. In light of what's happened in the East with the school shootings, universities, and so forth, we know that that is a issue, and we can't turn a blind eye to it. But at the same time, I want to reiterate, I think we're falling short when we do just the fire truck situation study and we just do the education of how the school itself can protect itself when we want to get more in the way of strong, hard defense. The police are our strong, hard defense when it comes to protecting lives of our school children. So I don't think they're going to get the support, but I'm asking for it. We need a comprehensive study as asked by staff a year ago. We need that comprehensive study. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I had a motion and a second. Councilmember McIntyre, did you want the floor?
Yeah, I'd just like to make one point, a question more. Fred, in my appointment, you made light or comments that I was going to have several conflicts of interest as far as issues of voting in the city. And I don't know if there is a conflict or not, but the fact you were a sheriff for a number of years and you're talking about possibly going to county, I mean, is that not a perceived conflict, at least somewhat? You make points that I have conflicts, and yet you talk about going to possibly an organization that you once worked for. At least the public, I mean, it just seems rather, I'm not even going to say the word, but I love our West Covina police. I think they're doing a great job, but I just wanted to make that one point because you always make a point about conflicts and everything, and it just, to me, seems like a glaring conflict. Thank you.
Point well taken. And when we get to that bridge, if we were to do a comprehensive study, and if it should come to a vote, it's the people's lives we're talking about, not Fred Sykes. I'm a retired deputy sheriff. I'm okay, because there are things that I can do that the average person can't do, so I'm not going to expound on that. This is about seniors. This is about children who can't bench press 250 pounds, who don't have a concealed weapons permit. This is about people that are asking us to protect and serve them. And there are 4 members on this council And if it come to a vote, I would definitely, certainly ask the attorney, would this be a good time for me to recuse myself? I got no qualms with that. But see, what you're missing is you're back to the political mindset. I'm talking about people's lives here. Okay? I'm talking about people's lives, not our political endeavors. Okay? So you don't need my vote to vote to protect the people if that's the best way that we think we can deliver services. You don't need my vote because there's 5 of us. And if it comes time for me to recuse myself because I am a retired deputy sheriff, I got no problem with that. I just want the people to be thoroughly informed of where we are and what our options are going forward. And I want to repeat, I'm not too worried about my safety. I grew up in Compton, Watts, Willowbrook. I had to fight just to get to school every day. I got robbed. I would go to work as a paper boy, and I got robbed. I had to fight to even go to work. So I'm not worried. I'm used to fighting and dealing with life and death. I did it for 33 years. This is about the people, sir. And if they choose to go with the sheriff's department, they don't need my vote. Okay? So, and if they choose to go with West Covina PD, that's fine. But I want them to know to get back to 130, somewhere between 112 to 130 officers, we got to do something. It's not going to happen by osmosis. We got to do something. And the way we're going is not the correct direction for our public safety. We need to realize that. We're losing more and more. When I got here in 2011, we had about 100 officers. And now here it is, a year after I'm in office, and we're not able to deliver on what people ask me to do. People move to West Covina because they want strong public safety. We lost Trader Joe's because of the mindset, that we could not protect.
Councilmember Sykes.
Okay,
I
so yes, I will recuse myself and bring it to the attention of the attorneys if they're not aware.
Mr. Sykes, and we're going to have our city attorney telling us that we're not talking about police and that.
I'm just answering the question that I have no problem
I understand.
with
We need to get
recusing
on
myself.
track. I'm the parliamentarian of the meeting, and I want to make sure that we are within our regulations and our laws. So the item on the agenda is for the maintaining the existing fire vehicles. I think if you have solutions, then we can bring them forward as you have ideas. That's what we're here to do, is to bring ideas and bring forward these type of ideas. So with that, I have a motion and a second on the floor for the fire vehicles. All in favor? No. Aye. Opposed?
I'm
Was
voting
that
yes.
An aye? Okay, great.
It's better than doing nothing.
Then that's what we're trying to do, is come up with ideas and solutions together as a team. So with that, the motion carries 4-0. Thank you so much. And with that, we are at the end of our council meeting. If there are any council member comments, this is the time to make them, and then we will get on with our adjournments. Any comments from council? Seeing none. I do have one adjournment. City Manager, you didn't have anything to respond, right? You were looking at me like you wanted to talk. Okay. Nope. You're supposed to raise your hand. Tonight, I would like to adjourn our meeting in memory of former West Covina Communications Director Jack Keating, who passed away last week in Virginia. Jack had worked for the city of West Covina from 1977 to 2001. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Keating family at this difficult time. If there are no further adjournments, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
And a second. All in favor to adjourn? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have none opposing, so we are adjourned, and congratulations for making it through your meeting. Very well done, everyone. Thank you so much, and thank you all for coming.